Hello, hello, family. How's it going? Laura Plahuta here live with you. Super excited for. I have Dmitry, who is going to be coming on here for a live Q&A, everything about astrology. And so Dmitry is my personal astrologer, who I've been working with for the last couple of years, and it has been a big game changer for me. Sorry, I'm just going to invite him into this live. It's his first time, or it's not his first time on Facebook. I don't think it was his first time on Instagram. Just wanting to make sure we get him on here live. However, if you're on here with us, then say hello in the comments. Let me know that you're here. Let us know where you're coming from. And this is your opportunity to ask all of your questions and curiosities about what the heck astrology is. If you have any more in-depth questions, I know there's been some questions about solars and how for your birthday, you can actually go somewhere on the planet that will help to shift your chart, which is kind of like a little cheat code to life, in my opinion. However, I will let Dmitry be sharing all of this magic because I am still learning and very curious about all of this as well. Let me see.
There we go.
Yay! Amazing. It's a miracle.
Sorry about this. I have had lots of technical difficulties here.
That's totally okay. You know, I'm happy that we're on here. So that's perfect.
Anyway,
Well,
I'm coming
welcome.
outside and I'm ready to answer all of your questions.
Beautiful. Well, I'm super, super excited. I'm just going to turn off my Wi-Fi here off my computer so that it's not pulling too much on the cafe's Wi-Fi. Hopefully the Wi-Fi signal will be clear. But thank you for being on here, Dmitry. First off, if anybody has any specific questions about astrology and you want to throw them in the comments here, it's going to be very interactive. So feel free to just put them down in the comments below and we will go through and ask them. I guess first off, Dmitry, if you want to just go ahead and share a little bit about astrology, like what the heck is it? And why is it so powerful for humans here on the planet to understand more about astrology and how the planets, the stars, and everything actually impact us down here?
Well, astrology is, first of all, is a math. It's a mathematical science, okay? There is nothing very mythical about it, nothing mystical. I mean, you can make it as mystical as you want, but frankly, if it's a mystic of math. The Vedic astrology uses more algebra. The tropical one the Western one uses more geometry, but both are math, as you know. Okay? So it's all about correlation of the macro bodies to our rhythms. Everyone probably heard something about biorhythms. Well, if you take several steps further in that direction, you get to astrology. Okay, so it's all about correlations, really, like how the time is influencing us. For example, on a macro level, nobody can argue with the fact that the moon is influencing the tides of the ocean. If we didn't have the moon, there wouldn't be tides, right? In the same way, if we didn't have the sun, there wouldn't be seasons, okay? So that's two macro planets, and that's two obvious things. Now, people even in school, like probably you can learn it in the elementary school, know what, for example, equinoxes and solstices are, okay? Well, not many realize that it's a part of astronomy and of astrology, okay? Astronomy and astrology really very much correlate, except astronomy is studying the physical aspects of the correlations between planets and macrocosm, microcosm, and so on. And the astrology is studying the meanings of it for the planet, for us, for karma, and so on. Well, that's basically in a nutshell what comes to my head first to say.
Yeah, that's perfect. And so some people aren't even, if they're very beginner into kind of spirituality, into astrology, they may not even understand what a karmic pattern is, et cetera, et cetera. So if you want to share a little bit more about anything that goes along with that, because I always found it super interesting. Like here, like as a human, sometimes we go through loops and patterns of things that are continually replaying in our life. And it's like, why does this stuff keep happening? Right. And it was massive for me to be able to understand what a karmic pattern was and how you can potentially shift out of it with the power of astrology.
Well, if you want to go down that road, you have to come from understanding that astrology being a part of Ayurvedic system. If anybody knows anything about the Indian culture, like yoga is a part of Ayurvedic system, for example, for thousands of years. And the reason for that is that when you start studying astrology, even if you're a total atheist, sooner or later, you, again, mathematically come to understanding that the birth and the death are not the beginning and not the end. So that's where you go into understanding of reincarnations. As you go into understanding of reincarnations, you discover for yourself the karma and what that is. Okay, and then you start studying the correlations of Karmian symptoms with astrology. So how the Karmian certain information is decoded astrologically in the chart, how to explain it, and how to work with it. Frankly, Vedic part of astrology, the Indian astrology, is specifically working just with that. Okay, that's why if you want something on the macro level, for example, to know how your life is going to impact the planet or what role you came to do for the mankind, the Indian astrology is not enough. You need to the tropical one, because that studies the correlations with macro planets, the planets of generations like Pluto, like Neptune, like Uranus, and so on. Anyway, so yeah, in a nutshell, that's basically like this. This is very, very big topics. I mean, you're basically trying to make me explain it in 3 sentences, but it's like, it's a topic of the course. Like, you have to study the whole course to get that. So
Yes.
I'm just trying to pack as much as possible into very small segments.
For sure. Yes. No, I understand, like, fully. Does anybody have any specific questions? Like, as Dimitri's talking, if you have questions coming into your mind, throw them in the chat. And then that way it can really help guide this conversation, so it's not just me asking the questions. But yeah, continue, Dmitry.
If you remember, the very reason for this live chat that we had with you was your idea, like your desire to share what the solars are all about and why you're going for the birthdays to the plexus. So
yeah, we can definitely talk more about that. Perfect.
Yeah. So, not many people realize actually the power of the birthday, or better to say, it's not the power of the birthday, it just correlates with the birthday. It's the power of the sun, like our one and only really star that is influencing us directly. When it's returned in chart in the same degree, minute, and second where it stayed at the moment of your birth, which happens every year, as you can imagine, around your birthday, and where the tradition of celebrating birthdays come from. Okay, you get the unique pattern of the planets that after it can be put on your natal chart, and the correlation of that will explain how you're going to spend that year, the year from your birthday to the birthday. That's why in astrology the years don't calculate it from January 1 to December 31st. Okay, it's from your birthday to your next birthday. It's a solar year. That's why it's called solar. Solar is one of the 3 main technique of predicting, or working with predictions. But the magic of the solar is that you actually have possibility to choose just anything, of course. You work with possibilities that are out there. So while we cannot change the positions of the planets that happened during the return of the sun, what we can choose is what's rising, what's setting. And for that, we can change the geographic location for the moment when the exact solar return happens. During that moment, it's like the recording happens during 24 hours while the Earth is making the full turn around itself, okay? And after it, these 24 hours are going to play out like a record throughout your year. So this way you can choose what you want to improve, what you want to put down, what kind of deals you want to make with your own destiny, and so on. This is a very powerful tool. And people who tried it at least once after it become very addicted to this. Like, I have people who for years, and by years I mean like 20, 30 years that I'm doing this, are traveling every year to the craziest places like Bahrain, like India, like China, just for those things, you know. And you can of course choose, and I always say this to my client, like, you don't need to go, but here is what happens if you don't go. This is how your year will look like, and this is what happens if you do. Some who can't go, for example, or who choose not to go, then can experience what it's like. It's not like every year you have to travel. It all depends on how your solar is working for the location where you are now, okay, where you're going to meet your birthday, okay? But this is a very, very powerful tool. I can tell you some secrets about this. For example, those who are interested in the British monarchy or the history of Britain, they probably know about Edward VI, the one that or Edward VII, it was the one that abandoned the throne to be with the woman that he chose. Okay, so I think it was Edward VII or Edward VI. I now forget. Anyway, so he was very much a fan of that, and that's the reason why every birthday of his he was spending in a strange locations like Tanzania or Canada or elsewhere. Okay, so for example, not many know, or actually these days it becomes more and more people who know. There is a wonderful astrologer who, frankly, I recommend her books to the beginners, who those who want to know, who are interested in learning astrology. Her name is Linda Goodman, who actually was an astrologer of Ronald Reagan throughout all of his term. And of course, it was a top secret. Nobody was talking about it at that time. But after the time passed by, it started to be revealed. She made actually wonderful books like Sun Science, for example. There is another one called like Astrology with a Smile and so on. It's really for the wide range of people who not very much known from the beginning about astrology, and for whom it explains in a very fun form. So I very much recommend to those to read those books. You can actually find them online. Again, Linda Goodman is the name of the author. Okay, I think she's already like passed away. I mean, she must be very old if not. So yeah, so these sort of things work. And solar, speaking of solars, like you can tell yourself, like this way, this year you went to Finland, right? For that? Yeah, so I basically scared you about if you not go, what will happen. So you decided to go and you did right, because you will see the year is going to work out well for you. Okay. I myself last year was in Newfoundland just for that, for example. Okay. I have a close friend who went to just recently who went to Japan just for that. Okay. And of course, it's not that straightforward. I mean, sometimes let's say that you can improve your year, let's say just 20% only. If it's that minuscule improvement, and for that you have to go elsewhere on the globe, I would say it's not worth it. Because the investment always have to be proper to the dividends, proper to the benefits that you receive. If it's just a minuscule change, don't bother, or bother not too much. I mean, of course, if you simply have a change between, let's say, Ottawa and Quebec City, it's not that much. Although even for some people who, for example, stuck with job or a family and cannot live during this time, it's a big thing. So we always can strike a deal, so to speak, about whether or not it's worth to do or not. But there are some cases when it's absolutely necessary. I mean, necessary in terms of like if you want to improve your life, because if there is a difference, for example, like 25% of luck, so to speak, and 8% of luck. If we, for example, have the year solar return when, let's say, one of the slow-moving planets appears to be in the extremely favorable location, and you're wasting it simply being in their own place to meet that solar, and that event will never repeat ever in your life. Absolutely go. Make every possible effort to do so, because it might be actually the change in the matter of life and death for you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing more about that, Dmitry. It fascinates me. It fascinates me. A little story that I'd love to share when it comes to the solars is I think the very first one that I did was when I went to Canmore for my birthday. Those of you who have been following me for a couple of years, you know that I went to Canmore 2 years ago. Last year I didn't end up going anywhere because I wasn't able to leave the country. And then this year I went again, and I was super upset that I couldn't go last year. However, everything that you shared, Dmitry, did come true regardless, even if I didn't go. But when I went to Canmore, one of the big things that I remember Dmitry sharing was he said, you're going to have a female mentor come into your life, and that was going to be a big pivotal changing point in your life. And when right before then, when I was going to go to Canmore, I was on the phone with Julia, and that was right when I had just kind of got connected with Julia. I was like, I want to go through the spiral. I want to go through Recover and Rise. I know that I need big changes in my life. I was moving through so much stuff, and I was just like, I need what you're offering right now when it comes to being able to shift the patterns in my life. And so I did that with her, and I was like, I'm going to Canmore. She's like, can I come? I'm like, yeah, totally. You can definitely come to Canmore with me. She's like, okay, cool. Well, I'll drive. We can bring my car. I'm like, okay, sick. At that point, I literally was so new that I was going to Canmore because we had just done that call literally a month before. So I'm like, shit, like, I guess I'm going to Canmore in a month. No plans, nothing. And then in comes Julia. And on that trip, that was actually when Julia and I really became amazing friends. And she took me through some of the Spiral and Recover and Rise in person. And we really got to know each other on a deep level and saw how much we actually vibe together. And she's been, sorry, the loud truck, an incredible mentor for me. And now we have our business with the School of Healing Arts, where we're now bringing all of this amazing value to the world because it impacted my life so much on such a deep level. And that was something that you had shared. And there was many other things you had shared along the path of all of that stuff as well. And even last year, I remember you saying that if I didn't go to Egypt, it was that you had shared that I was to go to, that I would have a very challenging year, which last year was very emotionally challenging for me, very, very challenging, which actually worked in my benefit. Like you said, nothing is really like bad. Like we learned through all of these experiences regardless, but I had been through so much of the emotional pieces that it really helped me to integrate all of the tools that I learned in Recover and Rise, and also with going through the Spiral and all of the emotional clearing tools. So it worked out in my benefit. And another thing that I remember you saying was that you're going to have so many incredible men coming into your life. And I was like, amazing. This is so great. And it's cool because not only did I have so many incredible men come into my life, it was really when I was starting to heal a lot of the deep father wounds that I had when it comes to being able to feel safe in my own body, when it comes to my own personal masculine energy and my trust with myself, and also my ability to follow through on actions that I'm actually taking in life, because everything in our external world is just a mere reflection to what's going on inside of us. So it was so cool because you had shared that in the external world. And then as all of these amazing men came into my life, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many amazing men. And them reflecting things back to me helped me to heal things within myself. So it was really cool being able to kind of see that transition of how all of these things were unfolding, but then also taking what you said and then also still honoring my own personal experience that I was going through, and really just like being present with what was moving through me to see how the two of them really correlated on such a massive level. And I know there were a few times where I'd reached out to you and I was like, Dmitry, I need a session. I have no fucking clue what's going on in my life right now. It's kind of hitting the fan again. I feel lost.
Yeah.
I feel confused. Let's set up
I
a
would
session.
I would actually recommend everyone, if they get the chance. It doesn't have to be me. I mean, there are other astrologers too, but if you get the chance, get the habit of doing the regular transit. It's called transit readings. Transit readings, it's really like to see how all the planets, as they keep moving around our Earth, they keep moving through the signs and so on, they keep influencing us and the events that happen to us. That is not part of the solar. And that is something that you can do every month. Okay, and I cannot encourage enough people to do this because it helps tremendously. It saves you so much time, so much nerve, so much nerve-wracking, so much wasteful energy and resources, because you can actually not manipulate, you actually control your life. Yeah, this is actually the main tool of astrology. It's not a science of doom. Like there is a part that you cannot change with usual progression studies. That's another type of prediction. But it's only 1/3 of the destiny. Yes, there is 1/3 that it's like a contract that our soul signing before incarnating into this particular life that we have to go through. But it's only a part of it. Majority of our life we actually have control of, and knowing how to do it, how to manage our resources, including time, perfect timing for everything. Knowing how to correlate it with our rhythms of success. We have rhythms of success. We have rhythm of health. We have rhythm of feeling good and everything else. So, and how much that correlates with our outcome, the results of everything that we are doing. It's actually amazing. When you try and when you start applying it into your life regularly, you become an instant an instant success case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that is something that that have to be addressed. Also, the solar, for example, some people ask me like, can I get this and that, like all kinds of unrealistic expectations. You have to understand, solar works with the natal chart. This is why for any kind of prediction, I have to do the natal chart first. Natal chart shows the possibilities. It shows the direction of our development, and you can only work with options inside of that natal chart. So if natal doesn't allow certain things, there is no way you can get it with any kind of solar. But with what it allows, here is the secret that not many explain. And that's probably the most important thing that I can tell today. So we do not ever live our charts, our destiny, and everything that is pre-written for us on the full potential. Okay? Everyone's life, even the most brilliant people on the planet, use their chart maximum to 50% of possibilities. There's so much you can do with your life, so much with everything that's, so to speak, God's given to you. And astrology actually reveals this possibility, allowing you to use more of your luck, more of your talent, all about finding a right spot, right place, right time for it, okay, right direction, okay. Because a lot of things in our life you have to understand it as a waste. In fact, majority. If people knew how much of their chart they're wasting, I can give you an example. One time, one person, I won't be telling his name in case he's listening this. One person came asking me to teach him astrology. And when I looked at his chart, I said, wow, it's like I should study from you. And it appeared to be that it's a very young soul. His chart was so promising that I would dream to have one like that. Okay? And it appears that he lives like 2-3% of its possibilities because it's a very young soul. Okay? So for example, instead of almost clairvoyance that chart was supposed to give, he had sort of hints that he didn't know how to address. Instead of like intuitive visions that the chart was promising, he had sort of like foggy contours of things that he could not explain, and that's why he wanted to learn more about it. So, and that also explains why I always say, why we know only one Leonardo da Vinci, only one Tesla. During this time when these people were born, at least 50, 100 other babies were born as well. Why were only one genius like that? Because only one worked his chart up to that possibilities, up to that potential. But the thing is that we all can, potential. And astrology is actually revealing for us this possibility to make less mistakes, more successes. For example, okay, to live our life to the best of possibility in every given time, okay, and that's what astrologer can help to reveal with you. And you know how you know that how I as astrologer know when I'm right? You always get this in the client sort of like a confirmation, like on some like it's called hindsight bias, It's when they say, "Oh, I kind of knew that. Why didn't you know that you're right?" It's when I kind of knew. The right answer is usually somewhere in the consciousness. One professor back in Ukraine, not of astrology, once told us, I remember, and I remember that for the rest of my life. He said, when you ask the question on unconsciousness level, you already know the answer. So you simply you require someone or something to pop that answer for you. And when you get that pop, your unconsciousness already says, that's the one.
Yes. Yeah. I love that because for me, when I go to see you, the things that you say, and the one thing that's kind of sticking out really strongly in my mind is before, this was like maybe a couple of years ago, you had said to me, you said, all of the healing work that you do will be for your own personal use. And then what you're actually here for is sport and marketing. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, no, I love healing work. I love this stuff. I love doing it because it changed my life so much. And it's interesting because now at the School of Healing Arts, the main thing that I'm doing right now, go figure, Dmitry, is the marketing. And the sport of it is helping like Julia to be able to bring her embodied movement stuff to the world and all of that stuff. And it's so cool because it's like this stuff is like finally coming in. And what you shared about how it just brings into your conscious awareness what's already in the unconscious. A lot of the things that you say to me, like you said, it's already something that I know. It's also helped me to rebuild my trust with my intuition. And that's been one of the biggest things that it's done is you'll tell me things. And sometimes I'm like, no, that's not whatever. And then it ends up coming true, but I'm not ready to fully accept it in that moment. But then down the road, as time goes on and life happens and all these experiences happen, it starts opening me up because obviously other experiences happen that are realigning me with where I'm meant to go. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, Dmitry was right about that. But it helped me a lot to really be able to trust myself on a deeper level. So that I know what my intuition sounds like versus the fears. One question that I have for you, Dmitry, is you said most people are only utilizing a small amount of their chart. What do you believe is the reason why? Like, what is holding people back from tapping more into their potential here, of what's possible for their life and in their chart?
Well, one part of that is the age of the soul, unfortunately. And that's why it is so important. This is why I always say to the clients, and not only to the clients, just to the people who are interested in that as well, do not ever do the electronic astrological reports. It's BS. Why? Because astrological report does not include a very important variable, which is the level of your soul. The computer doesn't know that. Okay, this is why it's so important for the astrologer to work personally with the client, because during that work, during that talk, it's easier to determine what level person is in front of you, and therefore on which level the certain components are going to be for you. Okay, other things is that when the person explains to astrologer what he believes in, what his life is going through, and how the most important is the attitude. The attitude reveals the level of the soul. It's not even so much what's happening, but what it means for the person. You know, one of the wisest things I ever heard was when someone said that in every moment of your life, you have equal reasons to laugh or cry. Okay? It's what we choose.
Can you say that one more time, Dmitry? Can you repeat
At
that one more time?
At every moment of your life, even the most dramatic, okay, you have equal reasons to laugh or to cry. Okay? It's what
Yeah.
we choose. And what we choose determines, frankly, our attitude, determines for us our destiny way more than we realize. Because it's that attitude that allows us to choose one thing over another when there are possibilities out there. Okay, another variable, so the number one is the soul level. The higher the soul level, the more kind of intuitive experience they already have, and therefore the more intuitively they choose the right answers. So the amnesia that is kind of veils us from everything that we experienced in the previous incarnation still is revealing to us what we experienced in the previous life through the form of intuition. The older the soul, the higher the intuition. But then again, intuition can be often mistaken for instincts a lot of the times. A lot of the young souls, for example, have a very good instincts. Okay, for example, if I meet the chart with a very powerful Cancer, for example, Cancer gives a lot of right instincts, almost animal instincts, like they have animal instinct of success, animal instincts of danger. So in that case, the level of the soul is not that important. They almost like they're so close to their intuitive, natural, like animals that feel the earthquake. You know what I mean? They so attuned to that part of their biological wisdom, so to speak. Other times, especially when I see the chart with a very strong Tamasic zone, let's say many planets are in signs like Aquarius, Pisces, Capricorn, and so on. These signs, in order to work well, require a big soul experience. Okay, and if a lot of planets, especially Trans-Saturnian planets, are in the zone of the last four signs from Sagittarius to Pisces. Okay, it requires a big experience of the soul. In other words, an old soul to be able to accommodate those energies in life.
Okay, so you said from Sagittarius to
From Sagittarius to Pisces, yes.
the Pisces are usually older souls
Yeah,
in order to incarnate.
it requires older soul to be able to wield these energies. For young souls who have this sort of charts, they appear to be kind of kids for the rest of their life.
I understand. Is there anything else you
So
can share
that,
about any of the other signs, or anybody else?
sorry?
Is there anything else you can share about the other signs for people that are listening?
Like what? Ask the questions. I can reveal anything.
I guess specifically like about like the age of the soul. I think that's so cool that with those signs, and it makes sense because I can see like now that I'm more attuned to energy and also like all of the different signs. I'm always so curious to know what people are now because it's like, wow, it's so cool like how there is like similarities between different souls and then with each sign.
I can give you like a very simple way of determining the age of the soul, of your own and of people around you. It's pretty easy, okay? If you see in front of you the person who lives for fun, the more the person lives for fun, the younger soul that is. Okay? Not that there is something wrong with that, but the more the person chooses responsibilities, discipline, providing the goodness for others, and things like this in their life, the older the soul is. So everything is kind of balancing between those two. How you determine, for example, the kid's soul, so to speak? It's the person who discovers everything, whose intuition is almost always dead. They don't use it at all. They don't know, frankly, what that is. It's the people who are live by the instincts. Like they love to eat well, they love to be idle, they love to have less responsibility, more fun in their life, and so on. It's like they never want to grow up. They feel totally adequately remaining to be kids. That's the young soul. Again, there is nothing wrong with it because we all at some point were like that. Okay? But the more responsibilities you sort of feel you need, the more you have callings, the older you are. That's a very, very simple way. Like it's like from one
Thank you
to
for
like
sharing
from
more
0
about that,
to 10.
Dmitry. Sorry, say it again. You were choppy.
Oh, just I'm saying this is how you determine, like on the scale from 0 to 10, the level of the soul. That's and of course there are lots of gradations in between. I just gave you the basic.
Yeah, and I love how you shared too. Like it's not like it's a hierarchy. Like we've been programmed in humans to see hierarchy. It's like this is all just about really like understanding where you are and how you can really fully leverage what you've been given in this lifetime. And I love that so much because it's like we're all here for different reasons, and there's a lot of comparison between us and other people and seeing what other people are doing. But when you can really just anchor down into who you are and why you're here, that's really truly when you experience more inner peace, and you can actually just be okay being you, and you're more purposeful and more focused on what you're doing in this lifetime, because we all have so many different roles. We can't all be doing the same things.
Mm-hmm. And for a lot of people actually struggle to find simply the right answers, like on which path they should be, and so on. For that as well, astrology provides a tremendous help, even in the form of not just merely answering, but again, sending you for the solar to the right place when you find and discover all the answers on your own. It will simply come to you. Like, for example, when I say that there is a possibility to improve a lot of the 9th house of the chart, those who know astrology a little bit would understand what I mean. Immediately, that's a possibility for you, for example, for that year to improve your spiritual standing, your understanding of the world, your niche in spiritual hierarchy, so to speak.
I love that.
Okay.
Does anybody that's watching have any questions? If you do have any questions, or if you want to share like what your biggest takeaway has been from this live so far, then please feel free to put it in the comments. Anything else that you want to share, Dmitry?
Well, people might watch it later, and then they have questions. So if you even if you don't have questions now, or if you watch this video, I don't know when it will be recorded and posted. If you have those questions, post them out, and we can do this session again and again, and keep answering the questions. If they are not personal, of course.
That's perfect. Yeah, I
Or
love
somebody
that.
asks what it means to have empty houses. Okay. Well, by itself, it means that though the area of life associated with a particular house that is empty is not going to be affecting you very much. It's like an area that is going to be worked out by itself. Okay, but then again, empty house by itself does not mean the weakness of the house. Because we have to look at the strength or weakness of the house has to do with the significator of the house, the lord of it, so to speak, and the lord and significator, how they match together. Do they have a configuration? Are they strong by nature? Where are they located, and so on? How do I set up a session? Well, you know how. There is my website. Laura, can you provide June with my website? You know it, right? Yeah.
I can for sure, yeah.
Yeah. You can go on my website and there is a request form, request submission, where you put what you need. You can look at the sessions, what each one of them gives, and determine for yourself which one you need at the moment.
And if you go onto your Instagram bio, it's in there, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. So yeah, so pop into Dmitry's bio, click there, go to his website, submit a request form. And if somebody isn't, say, sure, if it's their very first session, which is the session that they want to book?
Yeah, it always has to be natal. The very first one, because it's your cosmic passport, because it answers all alpha and omegas. There is nothing that is not in your natal you can get in your life, whether it is good or bad. A lot of the times natal chart simply answers a lot of fears that will never happen into your life, so you should not have them.
Beautiful. Okay. And Chantal, thank you so much for that question. Did that clear everything up for you? And if you have any other questions, feel free to put them in the comments here. And Mom, the one that you're wanting to book is your solar, which we were just chatting more about. And we will be posting this.
A little bit more about the solar I want to tell here for people. The time to book the solar session, okay? Usually I recommend around 2-3 months before your birthday. Why? Because other than that, what is going to be the preferences for you for the time when the solar kicks in. So you might think that you would want to choose, for example, the relationship over the career events.
Yeah, still here. I just wanted to check my battery percentage. I'm at 2%.
Okay. Okay. So you have to check right 2-3 months before your birthday. You already will know what your priorities are, and it will be easier for you to determine what you need to pay attention more. So we can make your next year about that. Right? Plus, if it's not too close to your birthday, you have options to get the tickets if you need to go somewhere, to budget your trip, and so on. So all of that requires a little bit of time of preparation. So too long in advance, you won't know your priorities. Too short, you might not have the budget for it. So I always recommend like optimal times 3 to 2 months before your birthday. Okay?
That's perfect. Any other questions? Feel free to throw them in the comments and we're going to wrap it up.
Is it too late for my birthday next month? Should I book another one? No, it's not too late. In fact, I mean, you can, in principle, you can do it at like in the same day or the day before. It doesn't matter. Simply in that case, you won't have many options to travel somewhere. So we'll have to stick with what you have. I mean, solar, first of all, is an explanation of how you're going to spend your year. Now, but simply if you do it in advance, you have more options to change it and to have. Can you do it after your birthday? In principle, you can, yes. But again, in that case, you can't change the place because it already happened. You will simply receive an explanation of what to expect.
Beautiful. I love it. Any other questions? Last chance. Throw them in the comments before my phone dies. Is there anything else you want to share? Dmitry, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing everything. It's honestly incredible.
Well,